Hi, my name is Bart Graham. I've been a Christian since 1995. We were baptized together on a Wednesday night following evening service.
Hi, I'm Julie Graham, and as Bart said, we were baptized together, so we've been Christians for 21 years.
Michael McKenna. I've been a Christian for about a year and some months.
My name is Jeff Cruz. I've been going to Madison Church of Christ since roughly 2005. I became a Christian in November of 1992.
I'm Jerry Hawkins, and I've been a Christian. I was baptized in Christ in 1989, and did not faithfully live for Him until March 2002, when I learned how to surrender. Because throughout them years, I went back and forth to Him because I didn't know how to surrender. But what I'd like to share is that I growed up going to church in Church of Christ, but I had to go. But I knew the Lord was real from the teachings, but around the age of 12, I started drinking and drugging and getting in trouble, skipping school, and then at the age of 16, started going to jail, and then 18, going to prison. And so it was just, I knew He was real, but I didn't want to live for Him because I didn't think it was exciting. And because I had family role models who was my role models at the time, and kin folks who was drinking and drugging. So I thought that was the way to go. So then March 1988, I had been in prison 2 times before then, but in March 1988, I killed a man for all the wrong reasons. And while I was sitting in jail, I knew I had to make a decision. One was either to kill myself, but then I knew if I did that, I'd go straight to hell. The second was to escape, and I knew at that time I was just facing a life sentence, but if I escaped, I was going to be facing life without. So I knew I had a possibility of getting out one day. So I decided, well, I'd give Jesus a try in my life and see if it was any better than the way it was. And which, of course, I really knew it was, because Christians don't go to jail, do the things I was doing.
When I was finishing up college, I was looking for jobs in pretty much defense and energy. I knew both those subjects interested me, but I didn't really know where I wanted to go with either. And so I just applied to jobs wherever and kind of was okay moving wherever. So the Missile Defense Agency popped up kind of randomly in my inbox one day. I applied, and a few months later I had an offer, and I accepted it. So I moved down not knowing a soul for probably 500 miles. All my family was in Northern Virginia still, and I had other friends, but they were, in other states far away. So when I had come down here, I wanted Christian friends. I had that in college, small group, but I still had that and desired it because that was what I was comfortable with. Before then, I really didn't have many Christian friends growing up. I had my family, but not many peers. So that was definitely just one of my desires. So I started going to just churches around town, just seeking simply that, Christians.
I had a friend who was a faithful member of the church, and he kept a Bible open on his desk all the time at work. And I could just walk in and ask him a Bible question. I had absolutely no knowledge of the Bible whatsoever. Reggie was always patient and eager to look up an answer and share that with me.
My office mate as well at work, and 2 or 3 of my bosses were all members of the church, and so we had a lot of conversations at lunch, and really just their example. They always talked about going on retreats and chaperoning and doing these youth things, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. And it was something that, growing up in the Catholic Church, that was unheard of. There was really no camping or youth activities of any kind until you got to be probably high school age, I guess. There was nothing for younger kids or anything like that, so it was all kind of new to me. But she was very well versed as well and answered any kind of questions that I had. And one of the things that she did that was probably the greatest service was she asked me. She asked me questions, asked me why did we do what we did? Why, where did that come from? And so that kind of got the wheels turning as far as, well, I got to be able to answer these because I've always done it is not a valid answer.
Words cannot express the feeling it is to be on the outside looking in. It's human nature to think you're right when you start talking about doctrine. And when you're told that, no, you're not necessarily correct, I disagree with you, then your paradigms are starting to twist a little bit.
They say church members of the Church of Christ starts conflict with inmates, but what it is, the people don't want to hear the truth, and so when it goes against their beliefs, then they don't want to hear it. Then they say, well, they're starting trouble, and if you start any type of trouble in prison, then you're not allowed to go in because you can start a riot.
I was very angry at the church. I felt like I'd been lied to. I'd been through Catholic school since 7th grade, all through high school. And before we left Chicago, I did like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade in a Catholic school. So I felt like I wasn't told the truth.
And about this time, I was reading more about, salvation, and I had thought that I was saved when I was younger just from, what I thought I knew about the Bible, but reading it for myself, I began to question myself a little. And I read about baptism, and I really had never, studied it or given it much attention. And so I was reading various verses on baptism and didn't really understand it, to be perfectly honest, but I did see that God commanded it. That was clear to me. And what also spoke to me very profoundly, is the fact when I read that Jesus himself was baptized. There was something special about that. If we're supposed to emulate Christ, then that's part of it.
So we started looking around, and we didn't really know about the Church of Christ other than the two members that we both studied with, but we were sincerely searching for truth, and we weren't quite sure. Everybody has their own flavor of doctrine, right? And so we didn't want to just go where they went and wind up in the same place again, where maybe we're not being taught the truth or not practicing the truth. So we visited a number of churches, and we were looking really just for one thing, which was people who taught the Bible and only the Bible, because we came to realize that is the only way to know that you're being involved with the true church.
I said, I'm going to use the anger that I'm going to have for being denied parole to further the cause of Christ. I'm going to give up doing hobbycraft, because that's what I was doing, trying to make my own living. I didn't like to depend on nobody, send me money in. And so I said I'm going to devote myself to having Bible studies, teaching people. So that's what I did when I got turned down. That's what I did. I gave up my hobbycraft and started. I asked for help, support every month, and so I just went to sharing the word with people. And that year, it was 2005. I went to one guy and I said, "You want to start having Bible studies?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I know somebody else that does too." And so I went to him, and anyway, 5 of us. The Lord brought 5 of us together that month, at that time, and we all went out and had a Bible study. We had them wherever we could, out on the rec yard. We had them in the laundry room, at our bunks, in the back of the dorm. And believe it or not, a sergeant would even, what they call hot rail for us. He'd let us know if a lieutenant's coming down the hall, down the walk, because we're not supposed to be in the laundry room. And but we'd be in there on cold days or rainy days. And that goes back to Scripture where God says, when He finds favor in us, then we find favor in man's eyes. And God had officers finding favor in us because they did not harass us, and even sergeants. And so anyway, we'd have Bible studies. And then at one time, I think we got up to 9, and but then people just receiving Bible correspondent courses. We was offering them, people was doing them, and they'd come to study with us. And so I'd sit down and have personal studies with people, and it was great. Believe it. I never thought life would be so much better in prison as it was at that time, because it was like, it didn't matter if I died, because I knew where I was going. It didn't matter if I got out, because, see, the Lord was working through me to help other people. And then other people was obeying the gospel.
December 17th, we went down to the Flint River, and that's where, I confessed my belief in Jesus as my Savior, and He baptized me. And no joke, January 1st, I started coming here, and that's where I found that Christian group that I had been looking for 2 years.
And even to this day, I catch myself thinking I'm on the outside every now and then, as weird as that may sound. 24 years later, because I wasn't raised in this. I don't have the foundation for it. If you think about the fact that from 6 to 18 years, 12 years, 50 weeks a year, that's a lot of time that I could have been spending understanding things that I wasn't. And when that foundation's not there, sometimes it's tough for someone to really feel like they can actually contribute to this conversation socially, contribute to a conversation intelligently. All that's pretty tough. So when we go out and we're looking into actually talking to people or getting a chance to talk to people, I think we need to keep that into perspective.
See, I can mostly talk about prison because that's basically where I spent most of my life since age 18. And so in there, if you show any type of weakness, you got people coming after you. So you have to look them in the eye and let them know, look, this what I believe in is how I am, like that. And you have to be ready to fight, kill, or be killed. And it's not no simple, easy thing. But when I surrendered to God in March 2002, that's when it became, I don't care what you can kill me if you want to. I'm gonna live for my Lord,